But knowing Tyson Fury as a fan, I don't think that boy just want to fight.
Talk about you meeting Jodie for the first time.
It's like when she walked the door, I'm like, oh snap. That's like really her, like in the flesh, like, oh my God, oh my God.
Hi and welcome to the Real Women of Boxing, where women with working knowledge and experience of the fight game bring you the latest news, views and interviews. My name is Jacqui-Lee Pryce and my co-host today is 6 times 2-weight boxing champion, activist and actress, Kali Reis. Long time!
It's been too long, man. Thanks for having me.
How are you?
Oh, that is a loaded question. I'm great. I'm blessed. Just put it that way. I'm blessed.
Welcome to my world. That's all I'll say. Welcome to my world. We'll be talking to you later on, obviously, about you making that transitioning into acting, and obviously about this series that you're in that's dropped on HBO Max. I think we're on episode 4, or maybe you guys are a little bit ahead. But yeah, we'll speak about that in a bit. Really pleased and how things are going for you. But let's talk a little bit about the news that's been going on at the moment in the boxing world. Oh my God. Let's kick it off with a bit of a controversy. Or controversy?
Controversy, whatever.
Yeah, controversy. Anyway, Tyson Fury, Usyk, fights off.
Sucks.
Again.
I know. That really sucks. I mean, but this is boxing, yo. This is boxing. And that's what happens, unfortunately. That was an ugly cut, too. That's gross.
Well, some people are saying they think that it's a kind of a cover up, that he wasn't ready to fight, that the sparring footage mysteriously got leaked, yada to substantiate the claims, I guess. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I haven't seen all that, but it did cross my mind though. I'm not putting anything past anybody, but I'm like, people who have been in boxing, such as myself, for a very long time, know the rules of how to get things in place to how you need them so things play out. I'm not accusing anybody for doing anything, but I mean, I know that if there's a medical issue that you can get fights postponed. But knowing Tyson Fury as a fan, I don't think that boy just want to fight. You know what I mean? I don't think that he would postpone it. I think maybe if there was a postponement, I don't personally think it was something that was from him personally, maybe his team or somebody, but I mean, cuts happen. I've before the Cecilia Braekhus fight, I had like my nose like wouldn't stop bleeding, so shit happens like that in boxing. So it just sucks, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. What they say, they reschedule it for May?
Yeah, I think it's May 18th. And to be honest, I reckon that he couldn't really win because people were saying, you know, what's he doing sparring without a head guard? And then they saw the footage and obviously he's got a head guard on. Like you say, shit happens. But yeah, I don't think he could have won either way, if I'm honest. If he doesn't, or there wasn't any footage showing that he got cut, then people are going to say they don't believe him. And then by showing it, it kind of looks like he may, you know.
He may have not been in shape or something, like he wasn't getting beat up in sparring. Yeah, it's one of those things, man. You never know. I would like to think he has that fighter mentality of Tyson Fury, that he just fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, doesn't matter. I don't know. I'm a believer. I'm a doubter that I don't think he did it on purpose. So that's where I'm sticking.
Yeah. Usyk, Vex.
Oh, that is an understatement of 2024.
Have you seen the footage?
I haven't seen that footage either. I haven't seen the actual footage, but I don't need to because I know enough about Usyk to know he's pissed. He is vexed, as you said. Oh, man.
Yeah, he is vexed. I mean, to be fair, the fight fans are getting a bit frustrated because a lot of people were saying they didn't think it was going to go ahead either. And then there's also stories about, I think Tyson Fury had a sparring partner that left, and then he was saying he had a fight to prep for, and it's like, really?
Okay. Yeah, there's so much boxing sometimes turns into a reality TV show, especially on boxing Twitter, man. That's
yeah, I stay away from that.
or X, whatever it's called now.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that's how long ago since I've been on it, to be fair. Wow. So let's talk about the fights that happened over the weekend, particularly, but in the UK. Let's talk about, firstly, the IBO lightweight champion, Caroline Dubois, made her defence, of a belt against Miranda Rios. Thoughts on that?
So, I mean, Caroline, ever since you pointed her out to me, since even before she went pro, she is special. And I like that she got the rounds in. I like that she had to adjust. Reyes she was in the fight every second. She gave it her all. She was, she gave her a really good inside game. She was counter punching really well. She was in the fight every second. There was not one moment where I was like, oh. But I think that was a good test for, is it Dubois or Dubois?
Dubois.
Dubois. All right, I don't want to mess it up. But yeah, no, I think that was good to showcase her skills, not just go out there guns a-blazing, get the rounds in. I think that was a good defense for her. I can't wait to see what she does in this game. I'm really excited. She's and she wears purple, so shout out to Caroline. Wear my color. No, I'm really happy to see her very smoothly make this transition. She's picked up some confidence. I like how she be talking all that shit too. Like she be chirping, man. I like it. So she's definitely I like seeing it unfold. I'm happy for her.
Let's talk about her opponent for a minute. I mean, she didn't take what's now the kind of current route into professional boxing. She never had an amateur career. I think she started at 14, going on 15. So I think she's only 20 now. She was not intimidated at all, was she?
No, and she took the fight on, 2 weeks, I think, because they are her. Yeah, I don't think that she was the original opponent, because, okay. I got all kinds of inside scoops, but I don't think she took the fight on a full camp's notice. And to come somebody's home country, being so young and not being intimidated, that was also something good for Dubois too, to see that, you're not always going to be top dog. You know what I mean? It's good to always have that, we're both on the same level when we go in here, and now it's my job to separate the two. But Reyes, I like her. I saw her fight when she fought Jamie Clampett in Rhode Island. I've been pretty privy to her. But she's not by no means an opponent. You know what I mean? She has a bright future. She could definitely come from this and taking a loss from somebody like Dubois, and the way she did, like I said, she was in it every second. So
I have to agree. One thing I'll say about her, great technical ability. I've seen her before. She's kind of aggressive. She likes to get on that front foot. And to be honest, she at first she was kind of, I think she was struggling a little bit with the distance with Dubois. But once she got into the fight, she started to put the pressure on a little bit.
A little bit.
I enjoyed her.
Yeah. She and I was watching Dubois. I was like, all right, inside game with this girl is not where she wants to be. And I know it was like maybe the 6th or 5th round. I was like, yeah, she might want to get out of there, because Reyes is no playing no games in the inside.
Yeah. I did enjoy that, and I really do think that she's got a bright future. What I am liking at the minute is the people that are on the B-side, so-called B-side. Sorry if that offends anybody, but on the so-called B-side in women's boxing, the level is really stepping up. Would you agree?
Absolutely. There's fights that are 6-round fights, but it's not like you get somebody wearing a pair of like Crocs coming in a t-shirt. They're actually, everybody comes to fight, and it's like you got. But you know the exact fights I'm talking about. Somebody with running shoes and a t-shirt. And, yeah. No. I love being in women's boxing now to see where it's grown, because the opponents, they're coming to fight, man, and everybody's not going to get passed around, and these pedestrian type fighters, to get them built, like, you guys actually have to fight, and I love seeing that shit.
I just had an image of someone in Crocs.
I've seen some weird things. I've seen some, I don't think it's in Crocs, but I've seen some beat down sneakers and like a giant t-shirt. Like, I've seen some things, man. And boxing has been around for a while.
Just like they've like literally picked them up, gone into the car park and gone like, who fancies it?
Anybody want to make $500? You with the Crocs. Come here. Yep. I've seen. Oh man. Yeah, it's been pretty bad.
Yeah, so anyway, we enjoyed that fight, absolutely. I got to be honest, obviously I'm a little bit biased having trained Caroline as an amateur. Beautiful to see how she's developing, confidence, like finding a distance, etc. But I have to say, I am a fan of this Miranda Riaz. Really great showing, a good dance partner. So yeah, Caroline won that fight, unanimous decision. I think it was 190, I think the decision was something
it
like
was.
that.
And the size difference too, with Rhea's not caring and gonna do it. She looked so much smaller. She's so much smaller than Caroline. So I'd love to see her at like 130. You know what I mean? And see what she does there.
Yeah. So yeah, before we get to your interview, let's just talk about the other fights that were on, or the results of the other fights that were on. Joshua Buatsi and Dan Aziz for the light heavyweight, Commonwealth and British titles, and also for the eliminator for the WBA world title. Tough fight because obviously they're friends, but Buatsi won that by unanimous decision, and yeah, he won by a unanimous decision. I think it must have been quite difficult actually to fight his mate. And in other results, there was a couple of other fights. One in obviously in Las Vegas. Conor Benn went the distance with Peter Dobson. Yeah, how did you see that fight?
I saw the fight as Peter Dobson didn't look like from the opening round, like he just looked like he wasn't engaging. For all the shit that he talked, he wasn't engaging and didn't really bring the fight to Conor Benn. Was it a strategy to kind of get Conor Benn to punch himself out, as a lot of people think he would? It's funny because Brian, my husband, was yelling. He's like, just punch. He's like, if you're not gonna just punch, if you're not as fast as your opponent, you're not as strong as your opponent, you can't move, just punch in between, go like do something. He's like, Joe, just punch, like something. And every time he was punching, he actually was catching him. I was like, he can make this into a better fight, more competitive fight, especially for all the shit he was talking. So I actually, for Conor Benn, I like that he got the rounds in. He didn't, I was just saying, he looks better, he looks more fluid, he looks like he's not getting tired. Like for him, I know he's been off and everybody thinks he's on the juice, but it was a good test for him. And Dobson had some moments, but moments weren't enough. He was kind of fighting to survive. Like he thought he was going to coast to the fight and get him to punch himself out. But I think I haven't really read any reviews about it, but I think personally for Conor Benn, everything he's been through, it was actually, he looks like a different fighter in a good way. Like I actually liked what I saw for him, and who cares if he went the distance? He got his rounds in. That's good for him, and he got the one.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of crazy when people go, yeah, he went the distance. What's your point?
Well, he's off the juice now. I'm like, okay, so whatever you believe, he got the rounds in, and he actually improved, I think.
There were 12 rounds.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, crazy. But he won. He beat Ben Dobson in his, what you could be considered his comeback fight, a unanimous decision.
But that's about it.
Yeah. So let's talk about another result that came in yesterday. Boxer's hot prospect. She really is a great little fighter and actually a joy to watch. Fran Hennessy, she moves to 3-0 in her professional career. Have you seen her?
No, I have not seen her. I haven't seen her.
Yeah, she's an entertaining little thing. She fought Lauren Valder Benetu.
Is she from
Valder
the UK?
Benetu. Huh?
She's from the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've seen the name. I haven't seen her fight yet.
Yeah. Corniho. Is it Corniho? Corniho. Corniho?
Corniho?
Corniho.
Cornejo.
And the thing is, I'm learning Spanish at the minute and all.
Well, you gonna fail. Cornejo?
Okay.
Cornejo.
Marcela Cornejo defeated Candy Wyatt in the 147-pound division. Probably my pronunciation is doo-doo, so I'm sorry about that.
It's all good. You're giving it a fair fighting try, so I appreciate that.
So let's get on to you now. Currently starring in HBO series True Detective, Night Country. First Native American co-lead in a HBO Max series. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. I didn't even realize that. I'm just kind of, chopping wood and carrying water, and people are telling me, I'm like, oh, really? Oh, I didn't notice that. Well, yeah, thank you.
Keeping your feet on the ground then, doing the chopping of the wood.
I am. I got to, man, especially right now. It's always been my go-to, but like it's very, very prominent now as well.
Actually, it's not co-lead because apparently it's they've given you another title. Let me know what that is.
The other lead, I guess.
Well, to be fair, the narrative really is about you, isn't it?
It is about Navarro, and it's Jodie Foster, Jodie Foster. She is so adamant about making sure that she says that, and she's so supportive on saying, Danvers, her character, is really supporting the journey of my character, which is Navarro, which is a beautiful thing because, I'm just like, there's two characters, but once you really get to the end of this story, you can kind of see it's really around her story and her journey, meaning Navarro.
So when you talk about Jodie, because obviously now you're friends, we're talking about Ms. Jodie Foster, two-time Oscar winner, early work. I think she was in Taxi Driver, Bugsy Malone. Most people will probably know her from Silence of the Lamb. But
The Accused, yeah, she has a rap sheet like it's insane.
quality actress. You play, is it Evangeline Navarro? Can you give me a brief synopsis of the series?
So True Detective is an anthology series, and we're on the 4th season. And I play Alaskan State Trooper Evangeline Navarro. She is half Inupiaq and half Dominican, ex-military, ex-marine, and Liz Danvers, who's played by Jodie Foster, is a detective in the APF, which is a fictional part of Alaskan policing. And they live in a very rural, very northern part of Alaska where it goes dark for about 2 months until the sun starts to rise all the way again. And it's based around, if you go to Alaska, 75 to 80% of the population is Native, Alaska Native, Inuit, Inupiaq. So Issa Lopez, the writer-director, she composed this story about these scientists who do the research in the Arctic, and all of a sudden they go missing. And Liz Danvers and the other police detectives have to find out what's going on. But Liz Danvers and Evangeline Navarro have history. And due to a case that had happened about 6 or 7 years prior to that, Evangeline Navarro just cannot let go. They have to work together to try to find what happened to these scientists and also see how it relates to the other murder of this Inupiaq activist woman. And the supernatural aspect of this really dances around the Alaskan Native Inupiaq stories, their creation stories, and it gets pretty crazy. I mean, Liz Danvers and Evangeline Navarro have these individual crazy lives that is a mess. They hate each other, absolutely loathe each other's presence, but they respect each other, and they probably hate even more that they work really good together. And you get to kind of see their journey unfold.
A little bit like when promoters in boxing have to work together and they hate each other.
Yes. Yep. Oh boy. Just like that.
All for the greater good.
All for the greater good. Maybe they probably despise each other's faces, but they're going to smile and nod and shake the babies and kiss the hands and make the business work.
Too right. Talking about the director, is it Issa Lopez? Let me pronounce that correctly. Issa Lopez. Issa. Oh, I was right the first time. Issa Lopez. Wasn't she, or didn't she rather, see you in Catch the Fair one and then decide that's the one I want?
That's pretty much how it happened. I mean, this is literally my third acting job, and they were looking to fill the role of Navarro, and her casting director saw Catch the Fair one and was like, look at her. And she was like, holy shit, who's that? And I talked to her a little bit about Catch the Fair one, and she told me about this character. I didn't realize it was for True Detective at first. She just had this, she just wanted to pick my brain. You know, that whole artist pick your brain thing. And then I got the audition, and evidently her casting director and Jodie were like, nope, she's the one from the jump. But I had to kind of go through the process, so.
You had to go through the process and at least let other actors think that they've got the role.
Yeah, no, it was some heated, like, when you start hearing the stories of what they went through, I'm like, it was between who and me and who? What? oh my God, it made me want to puke. I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. But
Yeah, so Isa found you in Catch the Fair one, and you played a boxer in that role. But how does it feel to actually explore, other roles and to get to fully develop your acting chops?
I fell in love with this. I didn't realize I would. I mean, being an artist at heart anyway, I just fell in love in being able to, I can't say create the character. Like meeting the character and like creating backstories is my favorite thing. Like I literally would sit there for hours, but I'll bounce the ideas off of my husband, Brian, because he's an absolute nutcase, but in such a good way. And just these are the things that not the audience necessarily is not ever gonna know, but because I want to think the thoughts of the character, I want to move like she does, I want to have reactions like she does, or whatever. Like it's good to have this for my so I've lived that life up until when we meet her. Like that's been my favorite thing. Not just this project, other projects. I'm falling in love with it. It's so fun.
It's interesting actually for you to say that you enjoy that part of the work, because for a lot of actors that's like the least like sexy bit. Do you know what I mean? They just want to get in and do it.
Yeah, no, it's been fun because it's just these these stories. This is what you get to create. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I love to just get there and do it, but like it's funny. The more you get, and especially this long of a shoot, like I was learning things about the character as we were going along, and we did not shoot it in chronological. We shot it like a giant movie, so it was like we got to revisit episode 1 like 5 months in. But I'm like, oh, I didn't realize this about her. Oh, I didn't realize it. You know what I mean? It's just really cool, and then you get to see like what Jodie brought to the table, what John Hawkes brought to the table, and we all just sit there and play around and like.
Yes.
I'm like, dude, that's a great idea. Or they'll tell me their backstory, and that's something that's like maybe a secret that maybe I'm the only other character that knows, but I treat them different. Like it's just fun. I don't know. I'm like a big kid with it.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it's the part of acting that you can play with a little bit, and obviously the audience doesn't need to know that. It just informs the character, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So your character is part of the indigenous people of Alaska, as you were saying earlier on. You worked closely with the Alaskan native producers. How did their input shape your understanding of indigenous perspectives and how the relationships impact your portrayal of Navajo?
It was everything, because like I try to tell people all the time, like this one-dimensional perspective everybody has of indigenous people from America or from Canada or from wherever is like you are supposed to look, act, think all the same. That is so far from the truth. It's ridiculous. I mean, there's probably over 600 federally recognized tribes, or tribes not federally recognized, but in the Americas, in just North America. I'm from all the way in Northeast America, and they're all the way in Alaska. So I don't come from them. So it was so important for me to say, what do you want to see? How do you want to see yourself portrayed on screen? Tell me stories. Tell me about the food you eat. Tell me a good time, bad time. Tell me about your aunties, and how do you pronounce these things? Even though my character doesn't, she needs to know. I want to know what she would hear. Like, what slangs do you guys use? Like everything. It was really a blessing, because I wanted to do the representation correctly. You know what I mean? I'm an indigenous person portraying another indigenous tribe and nation. I want to make sure, because I'd want somebody to, if they were coming to play me, I'd be like, you might want to get the perspective of the people that you're playing, no matter who it is, instead of assuming. So it was a blessing that we had these two producers on. And then also, with Native people, if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody's auntie that does this, like I actually knew somebody that has a cousin who was an Alaskan state trooper, who is a female, who is an Upiak, and who had those struggles. And I actually met her daughter, which her daughter is like hugely famous. It's ridiculous. But she came up to me after the premiere. Was like, "Oh my God, like that's my mom. Like I have this. That's great. I'm so proud of this." And just to hear that was like, all right. Then we did it. I had to make sure, at least individually, I did the right thing by. I can't assume. I don't know. So tell me. And it's really refreshing to hear people from Alaska, especially her. It was like, yo, that's just like my mom. It's good.
Do you know what? I was thinking that some people might think, well, why am I asking that question? Because you are obviously an Indigenous person. Why are you asking that question? Because like you said, there is an assumption, isn't there, that everybody's the same? Or the only, I think, not the only, but mostly the representation has been very narrow view, hasn't it?
It has, and even the stories that are being told by Indigenous people has always been a sad, somber past story that was written through the lens of a white person or non-Indigenous person, where we don't need people to tell our stories. This is a contemporary story that happens to have an Indigenous person in a police, in a law enforcement who's not full. That's another thing, not being full Indigenous, not being full Nupiaq. She's mixed, just like I am. So it was like on so many little boxes. It was awesome to be able to broaden that view of where Indigenous people are supposed to be in film and art, especially right now too. Booming. I mean, Lily Gladstone just won a Golden Globe. She just got nominated for an Oscar. There's Res Dogs that came out. There's so many. There's Echo. There's so many. Like right now to be in the middle of that, I'm like, oh, it's popping. Like we here. So it's really amazing time.
I'm loving all of the representation that is starting to happen in not just for you guys, but also I'm seeing a lot of Asian actors now as well. So yeah, it's still somewhere to go, but
a little bit, but we're making one foot in front of the other.
I was going to ask you, because obviously we both know the importance of representation on screen. How do you think that your role in Night Country contributes to changing perceptions and increasing visibility for Indigenous people and women in the entertainment industry?
Women, for sure, because you have these two women in this very male-dominated job. I mean, they're police officers in this very remote place, and there was arguments about, oh, it's such a feminist show. I'm like, because it's two female detectives does not mean it's a feminist thing. There's men are represented, but if you look at the contrast from the first season, it was very misogynistic, male-dominated perspective. Now we have a female perspective, but they're still police officers in this male-dominated world. I think it's a good contrast because as a female, as a woman, we can identify with the victims, with the crimes a little different. We might have a little bit of a different view on it. So I like that about this particular project, but I just think Navarro in a whole, number one, we have this remote place in Alaska that we don't really get to see. We have somebody who's of mixed heritage, mixed race that doesn't really know what to fit. We have a female trooper that has these, she didn't go to Yale and she has her things together and she just happens to be not white. She's been through some shit. She's fighting these personal battles. She's trying to fight justice for this community that she's a part of, but not really. Like this, she's very relatable to a lot of people, to a lot of us. I didn't grow up seeing these types of mixed faces or these mixed stories or these stories that are not one-dimensional. So I would like to hope that, somebody walking by one of them billboards that maybe 10 years old that has aspirations of telling stories one day, that maybe thought that because she wasn't white or she wasn't just looked a certain way, that now, I could do what she could do, what I could do. Even as far as having piercings, having tattoos, even that community hasn't gotten touched. Like, this was not a character choice. This was something that the director liked for me, that we made it part of the character that you don't normally see. You don't normally see tattooed up, eyebrows scarred up, like people and that can actually be functional in a very high-ranking type of job. Like, it doesn't matter what you look like. You still have the soul and the brain to do these jobs. I hope even on that aspect and that perspective, I can shed some light on that. I've had piercing people like, I ran by your billboard. I'm so happy to see somebody with piercings. And I'm like, really? So it's kind of cool.
Can I ask you a question? Why? Why are you violating Karvik? Why are you violating him? Like a drive-through?
That is not me. That is Navarro, number one. Navarro has her reasons. If you pay attention to her relationships with everybody, Karvik included, kind of explain what's going on in her head, and what her certain outlets are, if she has any, and Karvik being one of them. Karvik just wants to love Navarro, and Navarro's kind of like how do I explain this? It's like when you have like a dog or a little kid has a toy, and they're like, all right, don't touch it, but I'm gonna come to you, but no, I'm gonna, nope, but you don't move, but I'm gonna. It's like one of those things where she can he's a safe place for her, and he doesn't expect anything from her. He takes his time with her, and he's just like, I'm gonna let her do her, and if she comes to talk to me, great. If she doesn't, I'm not gonna even press her for it. And she appreciates that space.
I think it was a little bit of a hit and run.
It was.
A hit and run. But, you know, you're a busy working woman. You got to have your needs met. And I actually, joking aside, I think it was actually a quite an interesting take because, you know, I think women, or at least people don't think women have those sorts of needs, and they have to kind of juggle being a career woman with obviously having her needs met, and then she's got all of this other stuff that's going on. So I thought actually that was quite an interesting take, and the body was looking slamming.
I mean, I am an athlete. Thank you.
The body was looking slamming.
Thank you. No, but it was when I because that was, you know, especially so new on to my career, personally wise and like career wise. There was a lot of choices I had to make for my own morals. You know what I mean? My own respect for myself, respect, marriage respect. So that was juggling. But the way when I first read it, I was like, well, this is flipped on its head because we don't get to see women portrayed sexually in that field. We always see kind of the opposite is true. Consent doesn't necessarily mean like it was their choice to do certain things. You know what I mean? Like it's okay, you agree, but it's like the perspective of how it looks, the act of, is usually portrayed differently. And if you really look at that, the Navarro doesn't use that as she don't finish. She just has it's more or less like a lioness jumping on a gazelle, and then that she's done. She don't even eat it. She just wants to kill it, and then she wants to be out. Y'all eat kind of a thing. So it was a very interesting way she painted it. I was appreciative of it, and I'm proud that I was able to personally have my morals and my needs and my comfortable level to be met, because that was weird.
Were you asked, you know, how far, or were you just off the jump like this is my level, and this I'm not willing to dip my pinky toe further?
Pretty much, because that was something that was like, oh, we're doing, oh, this is love this character, love this whole story, but that's something that, especially being so new and being from an outsider, like just a regular person that doesn't know how those things are done, having an intimacy coach, very thorough. There was immediately, what is your comfort level? I'm like, I know the story that needs to be told, and I know where my comfort level is. So let's meet in the middle. And every need was met. I was taken very seriously. My boundaries were not crossed whatsoever. Every boundary that I put up and tried to work around the story being told was met with grace, ease, warmth, and patience. And scene partner was an absolute dream to work with, very respectful. So as awkward as those things are, it was actually a good experience. Never want to do it again, but I'm glad it came out the way it did.
It sounds like the intimate scenes were handled really sensitively, and I'm glad you didn't have to derobe fully, and that you so early on in your career have set your own boundaries.
Yeah, that was boundary number one going into this career-wise. Like, I have certain morals and boundaries that I will not cross, no matter how great the role is, story is. It's just not gonna happen. That I am a very happily married woman as well. That we're both navigating through this newfound success and these new opportunities. So I will always protect myself personally, and my family with that too.
And I hope now also there'll be actresses that listen to this and feel the courage to kind of do the same. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure I've heard horror stories like 20 years ago. I'm sure it was way different, but even 20 years ago, I'd have the same type of. I've always been like this. So this is a very unique situation, especially how I got into this industry. It's like I gotta be very feeling on the ground, very secure within myself, and just trust that the things that need to work out will work out, no matter what that is. I don't want to go, okay, you know what I mean? We've all been there, and then regretted it later. So absolutely not. That will never get crossed.
Yeah, that's great. That's absolutely great. So, let's talk about you meeting Jodie for the first time. I heard you were fangirling a little bit. Can you kind of elaborate on how you kind of managed to keep the balance of excitement with the demands of this project?
Boxing has trained me well, man. Don't let the judges see you tired. I'll tell you, I said that on the podcast earlier this week, like legit, like oh, don't let him know that that was a good shot. You know what I mean? It was you know, ring generalship really put into real life. That's what it was. It's funny because going through my movies that I actually like grew up watching and loved, a lot of them are Jodie Foster movies, and I didn't realize that until I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna meet Jodie Foster. Oh my god, I'm working with Jodie Foster. Holy shit! So when she walked through the room, we had our very first table rehearsal, and she walked through the room. Mind you, she's like 5'2". She's so little. She's a little bit, but big personality. I was just like when she walked through the door, I'm like, oh snap, that's like really her, like in the flesh, like oh my god, oh my god. But I had to give her like, oh, it's so nice to meet you, really calm, and it was cool. But she was so like nice, open, warm, funny. So it was one of those things where like I never really, the only other fangirl moment I had was when I met Mike Tyson, and I was like, oh, can I take a picture? That was I couldn't hold that in. But she was amazing. She's a really cool person. So it was funny. I'm like, if anybody can hear my inner dialogue right now, it's I'm like, oh my god, 3.2. Sounds so stupid.
I guess it is a little bit like a weigh-in, isn't it? You know, that moment when everybody has that poker face.
Oh, I had a poker face. I mean, I was like Texas Hold'em when she walked in. I'm like, yeah, how you doing? Who are you? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen some of your work.
Yeah. Really though.
Yep.
So, were you able to sort of pick her brain a little bit? Did she mentor you, or did she, give you a few tips? Not in a kind of annoying giving notes to other actors kind of way, but yeah, were you able to sort of glean tips and tricks and?
Yeah, I mean, through the whole just watching her work, like watching again, I'm gonna use Mike Tyson. Like it was like being invited to work and train alongside Mike Tyson in like '86 in the best camp. Like it was like, oh my God, this woman has done this since she was 3 years old. To see how she had, even the way she had, like when we had the paper scripts, because after a couple of rewrites, I was all up in my iPad. I'm like, I don't need an iPad. I like old school pages. I'm like, fuck that. But she had like her sticky notes and the way she was moving, and the questions she asked Issa, and even her directorial eye was she was bringing things for the story perspective directorially, and then what she brought to the table with Danvers. Even I would pick her brain on set, like, what the fuck does MOS mean? Like, again, I'm so new to this. I'm like, what does that mean? And she would be laughing like, oh, it means this. But she would give me advice, not unsolicited. It would be advice, but not. I don't think she realized what she was doing. Like we were just having a conversation about things, and just watching her work was all the advice I needed. Like just seeing when the camera was off. That's what a lot of stuff I've learned a lot from her. The way she treated the PAs versus talking to Issa was the same. She's so kind, humble, very, very generous with her time and her knowledge. Very supportive. Like she would say time and time again, like, well, Danvers is supporting Navarro's journey through this whole thing. Like, this is not Danvers. Like, she wanted to make changes to Danvers to support what Navarro was going through. Like, she made her a white, racist ass, unwoke, very logical, rational asshole more so because it supported where Navarro needs to go. Like, it really brought Navarro to life, too.
That was, that's an interesting take on the character completely. Yeah, I was about to say something else, but that will give the plot away, so I'll not say. Yeah, so effectively, I think I read somewhere or I heard it somewhere that when Jodie Foster saw your audition tape, she was like, she's the one. But let me just read a little bit of text. This is one of the things, or some of the things that Jodie Foster has said about you, that you're an amazing actress. You have a quality she has rarely seen that lives within you, and coupled with an internalized sensibility. That's beautiful.
Wow. Aw, Jode. That's awesome.
From Jodie fucking Foster.
I know. That's so insane, man. She's such a good study of people. Like I love watching. She like will tell you she'll analyze and she'll break them down. She's very, very intelligent, so she knows me very well, and we spend a lot of time together. But that's so sweet that she would say something like that from her, a legend. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean that's a compliment. Yeah. Did her commitment influence you, or the dynamics of behind the set at all?
Yeah, I mean, her commitment to relaxing helped because, like, I'm an athlete. I'm perfection, Virgo, over and over again. Have to do it. I love to laugh, but when I'm training, it's like this. I got to do it. Especially like I'm in this new territory. I have a lot to prove. I have no idea what's going on. Like I do, but like this is a huge, huge thing. Way out of not out of my element anymore, but it's just a big thing to tackle on being so new. And people are watching to see me fail, just like with fights. They want to see if I'm gonna do a shitty job, or if I'm gonna actually, or if they made a mistake by casting me, or if I'm gonna do good, whatever. So the biggest thing I learned from her is just just relax. Don't take everything so serious. You have another take. You do, especially in a production like this. Like, well, we got time. This is a big budget, so we got time. And just that's what I learned. Like it's okay to fuck up. It's okay to try this and that didn't work. All right, try that. Things would change on set, as you know, all the time. But that was the biggest thing. It's like, just relax. Everything's gonna work out. That's what I took. That her commitment to just going was like uncanny.
I think that's incredible actually, because any actor will tell you that going on set, and trying to kind of not only just match the energy, especially if you're new to the game, or you've only just had, you've got a small part, a small role, to come in and try and match that energy, as in, you're trying to match an Oscar-winning actor, basically, 2-time, and then on top of that, just the stress. But again, I'm guessing it's kind of similar to being under the lights as a boxer.
I've said it before, like this is new territory, but that it's the same grind, it's the same mentality, type of mentality so I'm out of quote my territory, but it's so familiar to me, if that makes sense. So it's the same type of thing. You don't, you go into a new gym, going into the UK gym for the first time, I'm like, all right, y'all are different than us, but y'all are the damn same, you know what I mean? Or any gym that you go into, you don't really know who's what's what. So it's the same. It's boxing, and I'm still gonna go in there and spar and bust some heads, but I really don't know what energy. So it's the exact same energy, yeah.
And I guess they're both performance based, boxing and acting. They require you to be kind of switched on, to be able to read and respond in the moment. How do the skills and the mindset required in boxing parallel to those needed in acting, especially in portraying a character like Navarro?
Well, number one, like trust. Like you have to have trust in your team, your coaches, to see the things that you don't see. Like I can't question my corner in the little minute that we have to the game plan going into round 3 or whatever, and I'm like, well, what, are you sure that I can't do that. I have to trust the director that they're going to direct me in the direction and see what I can't see on the camera in their vision, and just execute. Also the ability to take the information that somebody's telling me and apply it to the situation, apply it to the scene, or apply it to the round, apply it to the fight. That in itself, that's something that I just kind of knew going into it just immediately. Also, I can't take criticism personally. At tough skin, like people coming for me, especially like that's when I'm like, you guys gotta come a little harder than that. I've been in boxing for over 20 years, like no, but I can't take anything personally and then be like all offended by it. Like you telling me I got my ass whooped that round. You're doing it to tell me I got my ass whooped that round and I need to keep my hands up because you're getting caught with the right hand. If that takes suck because you missed the line of this, or it's just not matching. I don't want to be, wow, he's an asshole. It's just not going to work for anybody. The goal is to win the fight in boxing. The goal is to get the best out of each performer in this performance in the scene in there. So I can't take it personally. The fact that the repetition. It doesn't matter how many times, just do it more time. One more time. And always the one more time, the one last round, the one last mile is always the one that is going to change the game. Like my last takes, at the hour 13 is probably the best takes. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh God, another setup. You know, it's one of those things that be able to just keep trusting the process, and the ability to be present. Like I can hit the bag for, I don't know, 100,000 hours. I can do the pads. I can do the super made with pads. I can do all the shit. I can read my lines, read them with 100 different people. I can read it with Jodie. But until that camera goes on, until that bell rings, the bell rings, you got to be in the moment. Because I could practice, but if somebody's not standing right there for my 1-2 that I worked on for 6 months, and they move and they do something else, and all I did was that, and I go, well, that's all I'm doing. I have to adjust. I have to be able to analyze what's going on and react off of it like that. So the same thing with in the scene is like, I can rehearse these lines, but if this actor comes out guns a-blazing and I got to react off that because we're doing a take where we're trying something new and I just want to stick to my lines and stick to it, it's just not going to work. So you have to be very, very present. So there's just so many things I found parallel.
It's interesting because you're very new to the game, but the fact that you have recognized that, because there are some actors that my acting coach used to call vacuum flask actors, that they don't take into consideration anything that's going on opposite them. They know how they've rehearsed it, they know what they're going to say, and fuck everybody else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can tell those. Even watching one as a fan, as a viewer, I can tell the person just practiced that line that way 80 times in the mirror and they didn't care what was the other person. It's like, those are the best, like improv. I freaking love improv. I love doing improv because you get real time reactions and you got to come quick with it. So yeah, I just appreciate that, especially as a fan of just art and film and stuff.
So what about the similarities or differences in your mental and physical preparation for these two different professions? You know, were there any?
Yeah, so with boxing, I mean, it's a job. I have to, even if I don't, I want to take a week off in the middle of camp. Unless I'm sick, even with that, like, you can't because that's your job. You physically have to do your job. But boxing is very mental. You can physically do your job, but be mentally fucked, and that physicality is not going to hold over in round 6, 7, or 8 when you're just like, mind's not there. You can't be present, or you can't take the direction, or you can't hear anything. You can't use your own ring IQ. It doesn't matter. You can have abs, washboard abs. I've seen people who look out of shape but are mentally there and destroy the person who got all these muscles. I've seen it. You can tell the difference mentally. So that is, I've taken my mental game, I kicked it up a notch the last few years in boxing too, because I realized that, especially being in the elite level, when you're a world title holder, you're targeting your back. People have some fighters have this expectation of, when I get a world title, I can chill. That's wrong. If you're chasing a world title, just know this: that's not the time to relax. That's when the real work starts. You have to work 2, 3 times as hard because everybody wants what you got. It's not you can relax and just post all these stupid Instagram videos of you hitting the bag for 15 seconds. Like, you got to do more work. When the camera's off and when people ain't around, that's when work really matters, because you got a target on your back. I've always known that, and that's always what I wanted. Put that target on my back. I can handle it. Now with film, with this, I knew the character was very physical. I knew my athleticism was going to be a real asset to it, but I also didn't want to be one of those actors that you stick a gun in my hand and I don't say no lines, but I look tough, but I can't say anything. You know what I mean? I didn't want to do that because I've seen that happen too. Not saying any names, but I've seen that happen. It's like, you got to do a little bit more work than hold a gun and look mean. Like, also with film, I've learned that it's not what you physically say, it's what you tell the audience without saying a word. So, like, just knowing understanding my character and what she thinks and what she does, I've picked up, a little experience that I've had, always had like a tick or something that my character does that separates myself from them. So I know that they're doing, this is Navarro, not Kaylee. But I use boxing and working out as my grounding for when I'm acting. Like, no matter what, I will work out before and or after. If I miss a day, I'll at least sit in the sauna or do something at home. Even if I only got 5 hours of sleep, I have to do something to ground myself physically in my body, back as Kaylee again. So I use that working out. And I did boxing training a bit, but I really stepped back from boxing. I needed to, physically, mentally, everything. So while I was shooting, there's actually a good little boxing scene in Iceland. But I was training to ground myself back to myself, and mentally relaxing, resting. again, sitting and doing things that Kaylee would do to separate myself from Navarro, because Navarro is a very deep, dark, layered character.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like I say, your insight into just the actor's needs, or the needs of an actor in terms of there are a lot of people, I think that actors just learn lines, have a few rehearsals and go, and that's it. I don't think they recognize the deep work that goes into it. Have you experienced that?
Yes, I have. I get, even with boxing, it was like, oh, that's cool. You get to travel the world and go, like, oh, you're such in good shape. You look great. And I'm like, do you have any idea how much work this is? Like, oh, I wish I could just.
But also, I'm getting smashed in the head.
Yes, I'm like, you want to trade jobs? Not really, but like, at this stage, it's you. I wish I had a body like you. I wish I could be healthy like you. I'm like, everybody got the same 24 hours in a day. Like, I just choose to use mine a little different. So, with this, it's like, oh, that's so dope. You got cast with Jodie Foster. It must be like you're acting. It must. Oh, you live in Big Willie style now. I'm like, you know how much work this shit is. Like, it's so much work.
It's hustle.
Like like what me too. Like my ability again to kind of go back to the question to put myself 100%, 110 all the way in with boxing. Like, and I'm not just saying this. This is a legit. Oh, thought that's going through my head, especially my last fight. Well, I'm willing to die in here. And I mean that with every fiber of my being. Like, I'm willing to die in that ring. Like, I put my all into fighting. And I put my all into everything I do. I don't care if I'm tying my damn shoes. Like, I'm going to be very intentional tying my shoes.
Precise.
God damn it. So the ability to check all the way in when that bell rings and become who I need to become in that ring, and then check all the way out when I'm like, you see me, I'm like chill. Like, mad chill when the bell doesn't ring. Same thing to do with acting is for people that don't understand, like, oh, when you did this, I'm like, it's not me, it's Navarro. Like, I legit, like, would have my own, like, my piercings, for instance, like my other piercings, I would take them out specifically at a certain time. So I'd be like, all right, Kaylee, go have a seat. This is Navarro. I have to embody this person, this other person completely. Think like them, talk like them, walk like them, everything. Even my tone of voice is different. Like, it's so much work to really understand that so you can be convincing. Like, I have to convince you that I'm Navarro, not Kaylee. Like, it's weird for my family, of course. I get it. Everybody who knows me. It's kind of cool and weird at the same time, but I've experienced people, that's so lucky you get to live in Iceland and do that. I'm like, I ain't got it. I ain't had a day off. And it's like 12-hour days, bro, like in the middle of the night, -15, like, this shit's hard.
It's work. You need stamina. You need to be healthy, much like a boxer. Do you know what I mean? It's like you go, you rehearse, you learn lines, you go home, you sleep, repeat. Do you know what I'm saying? But what I wanted to ask you about, actually, what was it like in Iceland? I think you lived there for 7 months, did you not? That must have presented some challenges in itself. And, how did you cope with the extreme weather? And, how did that influence your portrayal of your character, Navarro?
The weather and the place that we shot in Iceland, and it's taking place in Alaska. They did a lot of research for a lot of months in Alaska to actually understand what they needed to build in Iceland. If we could have shot in Alaska, we could have, but the Alaskan people are built so different. To be able to survive in that type of weather condition is, you gotta build it like respect, because it gets -60, 70 there. There's like no roads. You can only get there by small planes. So they were able to take all of that, including a lot of the people from Alaska and Greenland, to Iceland. Because I grew up in New England, we have some weather. It gets pretty damn cold. So luckily I was expecting it to be cold, and it was awesome for the character because I got to experience how my character would really feel like being in -15, -20 at 2 a.m. You know what I mean? It was brutal, but thank God I played a cop that had a lot of layers on it. But it was nobody can prepare you for the wind. The wind in Iceland is different. The wind is like, it'd be like -10 or something, and then the wind comes, you're like, what is this? What is this, God? But it wasn't something I didn't expect. It was cold.
at the end of the shoot, didn't you have a new tattoo? Seems sort of a bit of a tribute to your time on the True Detective. Can you elaborate on some of the choices of the symbols? Particularly, I think there's a spiral, is there not?
Yeah, so at the end of it, it was such a long journey. I just wanted to get something, I have a lot of tattoos, but I wanted to get a tattoo to kind of commemorate my time there, because I was trying to get a tattoo while I was there, but my time schedule did not permit. But there was a woman that was actually, she's from Greenland. She's Greenland, indigenous from Greenland, but she lives in Iceland, and she was actually one of the members of the community in that portrayed in True Detective, and she lives in Iceland now as an artist. I had asked her, hey, do you know anybody that does tattoos around here? I kind of want to get something, but I know you're from here, and I've been trying to book. She's like, oh, funny story, you should ask. I just got taught traditional and Inupiaq stick and poke tattoos. You want a tattoo? I'm like, sure. She's like, yeah, I'll come over to the house. I'm like, all right, cool. So I chose to do the spiral because the spiral is known in True Detective anyway since the season 1. I've been a huge fan of the season 1. I watched it way too many times, I'm sure. But the spiral, and it just symbolizes to me that things are just going to keep on going. Instead of having things go full circle or never ending, it's just they're going to keep, you start somewhere and you build, and build, the never ending. That's kind of what it means to me. And then I just kind of came up with a few other designs that were very Inuit inspired of the design to some of the, it's very simple, and it was done in the traditional way by somebody that I had an experience with, so it was very special.
Yeah, it sounds it. I can't wait to see it when we finally see each other again.
I know. It might be sooner rather than later.
The series addresses some real world injustices. How do you navigate the balance between providing social commentary and ensuring the realism of the entertainment industry in your portrayal of Navarro?
Well, just having a real life experience from my perspective as being a mixed indigenous woman and dealing with these issues from afar, and having also the experience told to me by others really up close with these families, from particular missing and murdered indigenous women, people, two-spirit girls. So just knowing that I have that shared insatiable just drive, and like I have to find truth and justice, or do what I can, my part, and whatever that part is, whether it's portraying somebody, whether it's telling a story, whether it's putting MMIW on my boxing shorts, or just having a discussion with people in front of people that don't know about it. It's a honor and a privilege to know that I'm capable of doing this type of work. It's not easy. It's a very sensitive subject, but I am equipped with the mental strength and the resources and the opportunities too to tell these stories, voice my voice for the voiceless, and to speak about these things, and especially when we get to highlight these certain injustices to our women, in particular in True Detective, for touching on a missing Inupiaq woman that got murdered, and you'll find out all the answers later. But it's always important for me to be able to have the opportunity to speak about it or talk about it or have it represented in some way, shape, or form. In my boxing, it was important. In my everyday life, it's important. And now in film, and it's important, especially with Issa. She's Mexican from Mexico City. She highlights missing and murdered women from Mexico City in a lot of her work. So that was something that actually initially she wanted to talk to me on. So it's really important for me to be able to do that.
I'll tell you what else I noticed as well. I mean, obviously, I've known you quite a while now, and you're always very outspoken, and you're always highlighting the plights of Indigenous people. I really love your choice of outfits for your press days, and it's wonderful to see you uplifting other Indigenous people. Was that a conscious decision to collaborate, or who came up with that idea?
It's kind of a conscious choice. It's funny, my stylist now that a friend of mine, she's Lakota, but she's married to actually a guy that I know from the Shinnecock Met Reservation out in New York in the Hamptons. and I've known her for quite some time, and she's a fashion designer, and she made the very first dress I wore for Catch the Fair One preview, and then she made my wedding dress, and she's just an amazing creator, just like she's just so talented. She beads, she does everything, but she has this cool creative eye, and she's very intentional with everything that she makes. Like, I have intent behind almost everything I do, almost. So I used to joke with her, like, you're going to become my stylist one day, watch. And now she's actually been my stylist. So her knowing my mission anyway, and her mission is just kind of was a perfect fit. So she knows me, knows my style. And then I just let her rip, and everything she has is very intentional, especially with the red is very intentional. It's well thought out. Let's have the red from the MMIW. So when people ask about it, like you are now, what does that represent? It represents this. So yeah, no, it's been a very organic collaboration and very intentional one.
I mean, it's a great collaboration, but also just from also a basic point of view of educating people, but also you're giving her a platform. You're giving her, you're kind of saying, come along with, enjoy this journey with me.
Absolutely. I saw it as an opportunity for her to get more experience, and now she's nonstop styling other Native artists or other Native actors. Like, she had to go out way before I did to LA for the premiere, because a lot of other people had premieres and they knew she was styling me for this interview. So she's like, I thought it was an amazing opportunity for her to get on a different in front of a different audience. So although she didn't really intend to be a quote unquote stylist, because she's a fashion designer, but kind of coincides in being able to feature her actual line in her clothes and her creations is amazing. I'm like, yeah, she's dope, man. Look, let's come on with me. Who else does what? Like, if there's a woman now that when I do stuff in New York, she's a hairstylist, but she's Osage. And I'm like, oh yes, definitely. Didn't even know that. Like, dude, there's natives and indigenous people in all kinds of different facets of this industry, and it's any opportunity I get, jewelry, anything, I'm gonna make sure I do that.
I think that's a wonderful thing about you, to be honest. Just the generous spirit, and that kind of willingness to bring other people. Listen, there are people there are people that just get into positions sometimes and they kick the door closed behind them. And I think and especially actors, I think. But it's really great to see someone say, do you know what? There's enough room on this platform. Hop on. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think it's just kind of has a lot to do everything to do with how I was raised. I mean, I saw my mom do it, saw my family do it. So it wasn't like, oh, I got this, I'm going to hold this. It was like, no, we got it. It's always we. It's like, yo, I win, we win. Like, I'm Wampanoag, Nipmuc, and up from the Northeast Woodland tribes. If I got it, we got it. Like, let's go. Like, because we've been quiet, we've been suppressed, we've been judged, we've been kicked out of the circles, we've been kicked off the tables, not invited to stuff so long. And that's just not my specific area. It's, anybody who's been marginalized or been oppressed. Like, we've been kicked out of so many rooms already. Like, why am I going to kick my own people out of the room? Like, nah. I mean, let's go.
100%. You say that, but people still do, unfortunately.
I know. It sucks.
What did you learn about yourself whilst filming Night Country?
I've learned that, my friend Joseph Kubota-Vodka, the writer, director of Catch the Fair One, wasn't just blowing smoke up my ass. He actually did see something that I have that I didn't see, which also tails back to what my husband Brian Cohen saw in me a long time ago when he took his chance on me. And I was like, why is he wasting his time with me? Like, I'm not worth the time because I don't have the talent. And I actually know that I'm well worth the time because I do have the talent. And I have the capability to learn when I don't know. And I didn't know how I was going to get through this. I'm like, yo, this is insanity. But I thought I had a no quit attitude and a I'll figure it out attitude, but holy shit, like, I will figure it out to the ends of the earth. And then I've learned to ask for help when I need it. I've learned that I had shitty boundaries, and I need to put boundaries up as far as thinking that I owed everybody something. Like, oh yeah, no problem, I'll do it. Even though I don't want to, I'll do it. I learned that no, I don't owe nobody shit. And I have the right to say no. I have the right to speak up. I have the right to have a different opinion. and I'm very capable of doing great things, and I'm not fooling myself. That's not an ego trip. That's just belief. I believe in myself. I'm proud of myself. I don't think if you asked me that a couple of years ago, I would have said that. I'm like, dude, that's me. I'm like, it's weird, but I'm like, I did this in crazy and almost looking like impossible task, and just, get by. But it wasn't a split decision. Like, I'm UD on the cards right now, and that feels pretty good.
And lastly, we have had this conversation, but I know you've got another role coming up. But do you see yourself going back to boxing, or are you going to concentrate on acting at the moment? I mean, obviously you've got this gig coming up, or, where's your head at?
So I actually have nothing set forward, but I did, after I shot True Detective, I shot 2 more movies. So I have 3 movies coming out this year, I think. Maybe the other one was later, so it might be in the film festival circuit this year. I'm not sure, but I didn't hang them up yet. I haven't officially hung them up yet. As fighters, we don't know how to quit. And I want to fight again. I will fight again. I have this blessing in front of me to have this other career that's flourishing and hitting the ground running. So, just figured out how to capitalize on certain things, how to move correctly. And first and foremost, my health. The reason why I couldn't even do what I wanted to do after my last fight anyway. This hiatus, this break has done some wonders for me. I'm still in the same boat as far as health-wise, but we have a lot more answers and things are going forward. So do I want to fight? Absolutely. Will I fight again? Yes. Who will I fight? Let's put it this way. I've had some conversations as of recent. I haven't. Brian has. And I don't do subtle. If I'm going to come in, I'm not going to have a 6-round tune-up fight. Just put it that way. So if and when I come back, I'm gonna go for broke. Just put it that way. So that's what I want to do. Like, you guys will see me back in there again. Am I happy with where my boxing career got me, where it got me, the goods, the bads, in between? I absolutely love my career. Where it ended 2 years ago, my last fight, health-wise, holy shit. But like legacy-wise, you know what I mean? It's great. Do I have to fight again? No. Do I want to? Yes. Is it great to be at, okay, when you coming back? Versus, you think you should hang it up now because, you know what I mean? Because we've seen people overstay their welcome. And I've seen people having these conversations about these fighters like, yo, I wish you would just retire. I'm not in those conversations at all. I'm in the, okay, when you coming back? And it's like, wow, that's dope. So I have people have to remind me, I don't owe boxing shit. I've given a lot to it, and very happily so. But, I got to show up different. I got to move different with where I'm at now with both careers. And when it makes sense, when it pans out to be able to balance correctly, time-wise, health-wise, fighter-wise, fight-wise, all that stuff, you'll see me back in there again. I ain't going to be on a little card, though.
I was going to say, they definitely, you say, you don't own boxing shit, but I think boxing owes you some shit. Do you know what I mean? It owes you a big payday. It owes you a big platform. You've put in the work. You've put in the graft.
We'll see what happens. What I will say is, like I said, I have one of the best teams in boxing and in acting now. So they know what's best. I fully trust them. And what the biggest refreshing thing is that nobody on my team is like, hey, you shouldn't. They're like, no, all right. As long as we check all these boxes. Oh, no doubt. They all never stopped believing that I'm capable. So let's see what happens.
You might as well nick a pound note, as they say, and then just retire. Go out, blazing. Here in the UK, you can catch True Detective Night Country on Sky Atlantic or via the Now app. So listen, I really appreciate you coming on and, giving me your time, because I know that you are swamped at the minute.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure, man. I always got time for the good ones. What you mean?
Brilliant to hear how you've been getting on. Great to hear your story. Thanks ever so much for giving us your time.